She went to watch a movie with a male friend. They pushed her into a bus and raped her. But they say it was her fault. She went out in a group on New Year's Eve to party on crowded streets. They molested her. And yet again, they say it was her fault. She was on her way to work in a very decent salwar kameez. They stopped her. But still, they say it was her fault. Why? Because her consent does not matter. Hi, I'm Anoushka, and you must be wondering why I'm talking to you today about consent and women's rights. It's something which has been very close to my heart, and I have been noticing all the differences that our gender has to grapple with, all the stereotypes that are thrown our way every single day. Now, some issues are big and some are small, but most of them are always pushed under the carpet. As women or as girls, we are often given the advice, don't create a fuss about it, ignore it, or this is what it means to be a girl and you must learn to live with it. So a few years back, to vent out my pent-up frustration, I decided to start an online platform called Lajja Diaries on the 2nd anniversary of the Nirbhaya rape case. Being digitally savvy and founder of a successful digital marketing agency, I'm aware of the digital power and how to use it. So Lajja Diaries is a digital platform where women can express their grief, however grave or not so grave. The basic idea behind Lajja Diaries is that it is not our shame as a gender, and that silence is violence. It is the origin of all abuse. So Lajja Diaries is a platform where women and their distressed voices can find voices of hope without being judged. Now, it's not a revolution, but it is a much needed evolution to understand and to grapple with abuse. These are some of the stories which we regularly get through Lajja Diaries. Now, in my many years of talking to many women through Lajja Diaries, reading many books and getting numerous emails, I realized that somewhere we have failed our girls. We have failed them from the very beginning, from the moment they were born actually. Therefore, today I'm going to talk to you about the ways in which society and upbringing unintentionally taught me that my consent doesn't matter, that my voice would not be heard and there was no point raising it. Now, before I start, I want to first define the often misconstrued F word, feminism. What is feminism? Feminism is nothing but gender equality with respect to social, political, economic, and cultural rights for women. Again, I want to focus on the word equality because it means equal rights as compared to men, neither more and nor less. Now, moving on to India and the Indian scenario. India has cultivated a rape culture, which has become the order of the day. Every single day, atrocious crimes are committed against our women, and this is only due to the rigidity of gender roles. Now, these gender roles are ingrained in our very own households from a very young age. Because when you've been taught your entire life to ingest poison, how would you know not to feed it to your kids as well? What is even worse and more horrifying than the rape culture that's present in India today is that we are teaching our girls how to adapt to it. We are teaching them, and now our girls know that when they say no, there's a huge risk that it will not be taken seriously, or that they will instead be blamed for it, or they will be told that they are being too sensitive, too weak, too modern, too slutty, or that they didn't follow the rules, the dress code, the timings, or that this is what it means to be a girl and you must learn to deal with it. So if these patterns of gender roles and rape culture need to change, then we need to go to the grassroots conditioning and we need to alter that. Therefore, I have identified 4 sets of broad lessons that society teaches us from the moment we are born till we become adults, never knowing the danger actually, that make us as girls or women believe that our consent doesn't matter. Lesson number 1. Don't be a girl. Stop acting like a girl. Age group 3 to 7. So now it seems we tell our children from a very young and impressionable age that it is in fact an insult to be a girl. Some of the common phrases which we keep using with our children are, stop being such a girl, don't cry like a girl, you throw like a girl, etc., etc. For some reason, I can always imagine a little girl standing in a corner. What does this tell her about herself, and what does she actually think and understand from it? That all girls are weak, or that you'll never get ahead in life if you act like a girl. Another instance I don't get is when I hear a man telling another man, don't be such a girl. I think to myself, why is it such an insult to be a girl, and what is so wrong with it? So it is this habitual and unconscious dialogue of misogyny that has become a part of our cultural fabric. These statements and these phrases have brought me to the awareness that by calling our little boys and men girls, we are actually in fact insulting our girls. We are teaching children that femininity is equal to emotional and physical vulnerability, that compassion is weak, and crying is again a sign of weakness. So when the young child hears all this, the young child ingrains it in their memory and in their actions, and it forms a perception which becomes very hard to change. Lesson number 2, boys will be boys, age group 7 to 14. Now, a few months back, I came across this example of a bunch of young girls playing in the park with their male friends, and their mothers were watching from a distance. The boys were pulling at the girls' clothes and touching and fondling them playfully. Now, a young girl is always given one piece of advice, that never let anyone touch you. So these young girls went and told their mothers about it. And the boys' mother's reply was simply that they're just playing. You know how boys are, right? So there's a big bias between what we say and what we actually do. Young boys on the one hand are taught that they will not be held accountable for their actions and there will be no dire consequences. And on the other hand, young girls are taught that when they do bring up issues, they will be swept right under the carpet and there will be no retribution, because boys will be boys. Lesson number 3. This is what it means to be a girl. Age group 14 to 19. Now, it is very common for men to whisper, say, and shout perverse things at women all the time. Name calling, street harassment, flashing is another common custom which women have to get used to and have to accept without complaining. In fact, some really funny people even say that, take it as a compliment, or it must be flattering, right? Or other pieces of advice in such situations is, ignore it. It must have been your fault, or this is what it means to be a girl. Now, the fear of being raped, molested, and verbally abused are always at the back of every girl's mind in India and probably everywhere else as well. And she's constantly trying to protect herself. In such situations, what society and our role models say to us is extremely important. And usually, the classic retort is, your grandmother and I had to deal with it as well. This is what it means to be a girl. Lesson number 4. Girls need to sacrifice. You will be helpless without a man. Example 1. Now, a classmate of mine at college was quitting halfway because her husband and in-laws didn't want her to continue and wanted her to attend to household duties like cooking and cleaning, etc. The fights at home were constant, and she decided she had no choice but to give up her education, her career, and probably her financial independence later on in life as well. Example number 2. A woman living in a loveless, turbulent, abusive marriage for the sake of her 11-year-old child. Now, this is very common, and we get this through Lajja Diaries all the time. She is scared that society will not accept a divorced woman and will blame her instead. So she is tolerating her husband's abuse for the sake of her child's future. So on the one hand, our women are taught through years and years and generations of conditioning that anything a man does is all right, and that you will be helpless without a man, or that Women need to sacrifice, and a good wife does not speak up or complain at all. And on the other hand, the kind of example we're setting for our young boys is that anything your father does to your mother is all right, or that later on in life, boys and men can control a girl's life and her life choices. So with all of the above 4 lessons, we are teaching our children or our girls and women to live, grow, and develop in a rape culture. So moving on to the model of change and how can we alter this? Now that we've come to the conclusion that gender roles are ingrained at a very young age, and most of our gender understanding is socio-cultural. Society has created certain gaps between both the genders, and if we need to break this vicious cycle, then we need to go and unlearn generations and generations of conditioning. So for this, I've devised a stepwise approach, which I've called the Resist, Heal, and Realize Our True Potential approach. Step 1, unlearn conditioning. You are not weak or inferior in any way. Now, the 21st century woman is leading in all fields, and today women are capable of doing anything they wish to. Therefore, we must restore our modesty and our self-respect. Step 2, boys will be boys is not valid. Boys and men don't have the right to do whatever they want, and there is a clear difference between right and wrong. It is not always the girl's fault, so you need to stand up for yourself. Step 3, speak up, don't be silent. Now, silence is violence. It is the origin of all abuse. You need to talk to your trusted friends and your family, or write to us at Lajja Diaries and we will reach out to you. You will realize with time that talking is actually cathartic and that it is not your shame, it is their shame. Step 4, change yourself for your own well-being. While I know it's very convenient to say change yourself, but it is in fact true. Compromises, dogma, inferiority complex, it was not created by social consensus. It is a forced arrangement which we can either give into or we can learn to get away with. The world was created an equal space, and we are all equal contributors to its beauty. So let's embrace ourselves in all our being, and we will see the magic unfold around us. Step 5, and this is probably the most important takeaway of today's talk. This is for all the students out here who might be parents in the future. You are the real change makers. You are going to set the foundation of the next generation. So remember that we need to raise our boys and girls with gender equality. They need to be taught neutral values with no gender bias. If a true revolution needs to happen, then both the genders need to join hands and start over. They need to unlearn gender together, and they need to change the narrative together.